working or living in Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987, if you or a loved one suffered from a severe illness, you may be eligible for a settlement offer ranging from $100,000 to... You guys, welcome back to XCOM 2, Long More Than Shows and Mod Jam. We're on run 14, so we've been into it for a bit now. For more information, call the number on your screen or visit www.camplegionagent.com.
I was so excited to buy my first home, but I needed a lot of work done on it. I went on to Angie. Jamie was the first person to call. I explained to her some of the things I could do, showed her some pictures. He's resurfaced my story, he's done plumbing work, he's refinished this beautiful table here.
We just had that sanded curve.
Well, we did it, but with top-rated certified pros in over 500 categories, Angie can connect you with the right pro for any home project. Find top-rated certified pros in your area at Angie.com.
I remember I get news to my brother decided on selling because I've switched to consumer cellular and now I get the same coverage he's got for up to half the cost. I'm the one who wins. But when freedom falls, we're here to answer. The jury returned a verdict of guilty on all counts in the first criminal trial ever involving a former U.S. president.
The Biden campaign is fundraising opportunities.
Former President Trump vowing to appeal his term. Only on Fox News Channel.
Welcome back. It's the Big Weekend Show. Time now for our Big Weekend Flops. Our picks fails of the week. I'll go first. Showed up to his virtual behind the wheel.
Are you driving? Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually.
This is a driver license suspended.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he didn't have a license.
Stepping off.
Oops. That's just fun. So I made it very, very stupid.
Yeah.
Kennedy?
I thought that was absolutely amazing. Hey, man, we gotta get around, we gotta get around. A Maryland town thought they were getting a new Trader Joe's because they saw this sign. And they were like, oh my goodness, TJ's, yay! It was a high school senior prank. Absolutely brilliant because the QR code on the sign led to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So they ripped-rolled the entire town and they were very depressed when they realized they were not in fact getting a
That is a good one.
That's such
That
a good
is a
one.
good prank.
Senior pranks, like wholesome senior pranks.
Smart.
Yeah,
Smart.
But what I like that. Oh.
Never gonna let you do it. I highly anticipated boxing match between Iron Mike Tyson and social media influencer Jake Paul has been postponed. This comes after Tyson suffered a medical scare on an airplane caused by ulcers. Okay, guys, just to make yourselves feel a little older, Mike Tyson won the heavyweight championship in 1986. That is nearly 40 years ago. I've never heard of a boxer actually bowing out of a fight because of an ulcer. So I wonder if this thing's ever going to happen. This was going to sell more than any fight this year. 100,000 people in Dallas at Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium.
So apparently that plane had been sitting on the runway for a long time and it was overheated.
I don't get ulcers from just sitting on a plane.
You never know when someone's not open with you.
True. I hope the
I don't like that. All right, so tell us this. Bass and rock and roll. Singer Taylor Momsen was actually bit by a bat.
All yours, buddy.
For an AC/DC show. The pretty reckless frontman said the bat flew into her and clung to her, and she had no idea until fans pointed and started screaming. The singer went to the hospital and has to go through 2 weeks of rabies shots. But I mean, the irony here. I mean, she was opening for AC/DC.
Right. I was in Ozzy Osbourne there. We need him.
Right? What? He was the bat. Everyone's the bat for beat up Jake Paul as well.
That's a nightmare.
Okay, all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. Good times today. We will see you back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Big Weekend Show. Life, Liberty, and the Big starts right now.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday, and I want to talk about Mr. Bobble. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden got up in front of a microphone like this, read the lines as best as he could. He started out the other day by attacking Donald Trump, saying he's a dangerous man to attack our justice system like this, and that his day in court will be a Holocaust. The jury decided. Well, of course, the problem is there was a jury. There should never been a jury. There should never been a case. The prosecutor is a source prosecutor. The case should have been dismissed. The problem is you have a judge who is a Biden judge. So now you have two individuals, two dishonest individuals who lack complete integrity. That is, Bragg and Marchand, who are influencing a federal national presidential election. Joe Biden's fine with that. I'm glad to know Joe Biden's fine with that because apparently Joe Biden believes that that is precedent. What took place in the New York court, he's very happy with it. Just let the process play out. Okay, let's let the process play out. So where are we with the Marchand Bragg decision? It's that the rules to the instructions to the jury gave an inevitable result. So where are we? Where we are is, if you make an effort to influence an election as a candidate to prevent something negative from coming out in order to present a false positive picture, you have then created a criminal event. What's the law? Doesn't matter. What's the intent? Doesn't matter. Yet we actually had intent in the case of Joe Biden. What are you talking about? God willing, Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. I am going to urge him, I'm going to lobby to tell his Attorney General of the United States, let's stop playing games. To indict Joe Biden and indict Anthony Blinken. Because according to Bragg, Marchand, Biden, their media, and their surrogates, they committed a crime. In this case, we don't have to even recreate it through some phony link to a federal statute to revive a state statute.
That's bullshit, man.
A federal campaign law. It doesn't matter which part of the law.
That's a first.
Because that is the precedent that comes out of the New York case.
Just walk in and
Okay, what am I talking about? I have in front of me a letter, October 19, 2020. Public statement on the Hunter Biden emails. It's got the Hunter Biden laptop. You aware of this? 51 former intelligence groups from all levels of the CIA, National Security Council, and all the rest of them signed a letter.
and be ready when the
The
boys
purpose of
roll up.
which was to influence the election. And in the letter they say, for a bunch of reasons, we write to say that the arrival on the U.S. political scene of emails, that's the Hunter Biden laptop, reportedly belonging to Vice President Biden's son Hunter, much related to his time serving on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma, has all the classic earmarks of Russian information operation. And they go on to make their case. Not only that, they leaked it to the media. Well, who prepared that letter? The letter's a lie. The letter's a lie. The laptop is legit. It's being used in a federal case right now against Hunter Biden. It's 100% legit. The laptop, therefore, was dismissed as a non-issue as Russian disinformation 2 weeks before the election. 2 weeks before the election. In fact, in the final debate, Joe Biden pointed to a piece in the media citing the experts that this was Russian disinformation when it was brought up by Donald Trump. So the fact that it was used, the fact that it was organized, the fact that it was a negative story that was squelched, it influenced the election. There is no debate. I don't need a porn star to tell me that. I don't need a 400-time liar to tell me that. I don't need a crooked judge to tell me that. I don't need a crooked Soros prosecutor to tell me that. I don't have to play with the rules of evidence. I don't have to destroy due process.
The Reaper's doing really good.
It's open. Shut. Game over. Biden and Blinken need to be indicted. God willing, if Donald Trump is president. I'll tell you why. They leaked this letter to a specific reporter at the Washington Post. How do we know? Because it was testified to that effect to Congress under penalty of perjury by the former deputy CIA director to Obama, Mike Morrell. who signed the letter. And so what happened exactly? Well, first of all, here's one of the stories that took place the same day the letter went out. Here it is, October 19, 2020, Politico, one of the favorite outlets for the Biden regime. And it says one of the 50 former senior intelligence officials have signed on to a letter outlining their belief that the recent disclosure of emails allegedly belonging to Joe Biden's son, quote, has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. The story was plain. The outcome was the outcome they wanted. Right, Joe? Yeah, I think so, Bob. So what else do we know? Wall Street Journal opinion piece summed it up nicely. April 23, 2023. The House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees released portions of a deposition transcript exposing the origins of the statement from the 51 former U.S. spies declaring that Hunter's laptop had, quote, all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation, unquote. The admission came from Mike Morrell, former deputy CIA director under Barack Obama. The letter served its political purpose of giving the media and Joe Biden the opening to dismiss the New York Post laptop scoop on Russian disinformation. Turns out the Biden campaign was behind the letter. Okay, case closed. I got more. Mr. Morrell told Congress, under oath, under penalty of perjury, that he received a phone call from
Misclick, you fucking asshole.
He is our pathetic Secretary of State. On October 17, 2020, 2 days before the release of the letter, and 3 days after the New York Post published emails from Hunter Biden's laptop. Why were those emails important? Because they implicated Joe Biden in illegal foreign business schemes to get money from the communist Chinese.
Got it.
Mr. Blinken was then a senior advisor to the campaign and now Secretary of State. The letter says Mr. Morrell also, quote, explained that the Biden campaign helped to strategize about the public release of the statement. So they organized it, they drafted it, they had the entire process set up. They get it to certain reporters. Now, I admit it wasn't the National Enquirer, but it's worse. It went to all the mainstream radical Democrat Party media and was pushed out. Mr. Morrell says he then contacted an aide to former CIA Director John Brennan to say, quote, the Biden campaign wanted the statement to go
where we going, this way?
At the Washington Post first, that he should send the statement to the campaign when he sent the letter to the reporter. Mr. Morrell acknowledged he had two goals with the statement to, quote, share our concern with the American people, unquote, and to help, and I quote, Vice President Biden win the election. All this took place shortly before the final presidential debate. Mr. Biden pointed to the Gang of 51 statement that his campaign helped to generate as proof that Hunter laptop was stolen. Quote, look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what this is. President Trump is accusing me of as a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the characteristics. 4 or 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. They create the letter. They get it signed, we leak it to media outlets who are happy to support him, they want him to win, and he cites his own dirty work. For what? To influence the election. Even if he didn't have a pen, it doesn't matter, according to Mr. Morrell. Why this is a open and shut case. Mr. Morrell told the committee that following the debate, Biden campaign chair, now senior White House aide, Stephen Ricchetti, called to thank him for the statement. No doubt, the Biden campaign had in essence generated its own disinformation, marshaling the authority of supposedly nonpartisan intelligence veterans to discredit a story that was accurate about laptop emails that were authentic. We don't even need to play around in state court. We don't even go through the motions, breathing life. State misdemeanor statutes, they need to be revived because the statute of limitation has run out. I'll just point to the federal election campaign. What part? I didn't point to the in-kind contribution part, but I didn't point to any part. That's what happened in the courtroom. And Biden says it's a great process. Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken, God willing, Donald Trump is president, must be indicted. We're going to have an equal application of due process, or in this case, really no due process. That's what needs to happen. But we have another problem for Joe Biden, for which he needs to be indicted. We have a special counsel report by Mr. Herr that says he willfully disclosed classified materials. I quote. In other words, he violated the Espionage Act. Now, when he violated the Espionage Act, he wasn't president, so there's no presidential privilege that you can assert. Or You can't assert that as head of the executive branch, he's immune from such prosecution, which I think he would be. Just my own view. But his violations occurred when he was a U.S. Senator, when he was Vice President of the United States, and when he was a private citizen. He got an $8 million book deal. In other words, he got $8 million for stealing classified information about Afghanistan meetings. That's a crime. If anybody else did it, it would be a crime. Now, Joe Biden believes in the rule of law, so let's stick with the rule of law here. The fact of the matter is that you can indict a president after they become president for actions they took having nothing to do with his president. That's not even what's up before the Supreme Court of Immunity, which is the actions of a president when a president leaves. This is about the actions of a president before he was president, when he was vice president, when he was a private citizen, when he was a senator. Now, what about the statute of limitations? They don't matter. We have a case in the year. Statute of limitations, what's statute of limitations? For goodness sake.
Status confirmed.
You
Mission
just
accomplished.
believe getting to the bottom of this. We have so much evidence in this report from Mr. Herr of multiple violations of classified information. It's hard to keep track. I know that the Department of Justice said they're not going to act because Mr. Herr said and certified that Joe Biden is innocent. And plus, you can't indict a sitting president. Well, number one, he's no longer a sitting president. Number two, the imbecile defense is not one that a Trump attorney general has to accept. In fact, I've never heard of an imbecile defense before, but we have it the first time. So Joe Biden is exposed, and in my view, should be indicted for willfully disclosing classified information, effectively selling secrets for a profit,
As long as there's even one reaper.
trying to cover it up.
You can
Look
bet
at that,
you're
Jeff.
still in the fight.
Now, one other issue while I'm here, we have two great guests, John Yu and Leo Terrell. Stick with us tonight. I do not understand the resistance or the confusion. And I make the point that you cannot allow the case of New York to stand. Because the case of New York stands for what? Not just lawlessness, not just a violation of the federal bill of rights as applies to the states and the courts of the country. And not just a violation of a presidential candidate, former president, the Republican putative candidate, in his due process and equal protection rights, although that would be bad enough. We the people have suffered. We the people have been attacked. The campaign process that's been in place since the beginning of the Republic has been altered by a Soros prosecutor and a Biden-inflicted drug. Now, does the whole country have to abide by that now? And he did it through all kinds of schemes, lies, censorship that took place in that Star Chamber. The appellate court process in New York is not sufficient. Whatever they rule, it's going to be too late. That's number one. Number two, an appellate court process in a state should not determine the impact on a federal campaign under federal campaign law on the federal presidential campaign, whatever they decide. So the process has already been breached. The jurisdiction, the Constitution has already been breached, regardless of the New York appellate court said. This needs to be put back in the box. Now, there's only one entity who can do it. I heard somebody say, well, we've got to get it into the federal district courts, the second court. That's not right. That's not impossible. Well, we got to wait to the end of the state court process. When you wait to the end of the state court process, then the
Fucking big one or what?
destroyed. We've had people here say, brilliant lawyers, and they're right. All these issues that are relevant. One said, we can't unravel this. Our system's been destroyed. Another said, the public will at some point rise up and demand justice. Well, the problem is we have lifetime appointed federal judges, we've elected judges. Okay. Do you think the electorate in Manhattan gets a day where we have to say on anything? They're going to rise up and do a ticker-tape parade for these guys. So these are not serious answers. As an advocate, as somebody who has litigated against the left for 40 years, you got to do better than that. There's only one body that can save this judicial system, and it's the top judicial court in the country. You have to give it an opportunity to address this. We can choose not to. And then what's done is done. But you have to give it an opportunity. And when you're trying to save the country, even if you have a 10% chance, isn't that good enough? It's not. You don't play a football game and say, I got to the 30-yard line and there's the end zone.
Game over. Because the referee says, not a 30-yard line, that's it. No. We're going for the end zone. I've never heard of a battle in which you surrender and just keep whining about it. So, this is an important constitutional matter that raises incredibly important constitutional issues. That's what the Supreme Court's for. The extent of state court powers and the powers of the
Bring the
DA
spark on the
system,
issues now.
because we have thousands of DAs and assistant DAs and thousands of state judges. In Marshawn's case, an acting judge. Yeah. So, whatever is resolved in New York doesn't resolve it for the country. That's number one. Number two, the Supreme Court cares about cases that affect the entire nation. This case affects the entire nation like no other case. Number three, we have precedent. The court stepped in Bush versus Gore under different circumstances and facts. But what does it tell us? It tells us that the court has an election, treating presidential elections differently than other activities, and that even though it's an exceptional case for the court to take up, these are exceptional times, exceptional circumstances that requires immediacy, not the lumbering process in the state court. Now, the president's lawyers want to stick with that process for the purpose of preserving his appeals, but then we have the bigger issue, the presidency, federalism, due process, equal protection, the First, Fifth, Sixth Amendments right off the top of my head. Equal protection. Our campaign is not on equal footing because of what happened in that courtroom. Joe Biden's able to run an unfettered campaign. Now the debate is, will the judge give Trump house detention? Will he require Trump to sign in every time he leaves the state for another state? In other words, this is an ongoing interference with the election. The unconstitutionality is ongoing. One state's decision, really, one DA and one judge's decision, should not affect the entirety of an election for all of us voters who don't live in that. The Supreme Court has the power, in extraordinary instances, to grant relief by use of common law powers. Are they rare? Yes. For rare occasions, yes. This is the rarest of occasions. So how does it work? Issuance by the court of an extraordinary writ authorized under 28 U.S.C. Section 165A. It's not a matter of right, but discretion, sparingly used by a court. To justify the granting of any such writ, the petition must show that the writ will be in aid of the court's appellate jurisdiction, that exceptional circumstances warrant the exercise of the court's discretionary powers, and that adequate relief cannot be obtained in any other form or in any other form other than this court. You file the notice of appeal. As I said, you ask for a stay of the trial court from the New York court's immediate expedited review, you see. You file applications for common law writs, it doesn't really matter for our purpose. What you're trying to do is get the case to the door of the Supreme Court. You have 1,000 federal constitutional reasons for doing it. The exigent circumstance is, it's going on right now. The constitutional violations are affecting the election as I speak. Every minute that goes by, more damage is done. It becomes more difficult for the Supreme Court not to do it.
Not enough time on that one.
Complicated. I don't know why people resist it. Well, it's a long shot. It may not work. So what? If you don't take a long shot, you take no shot. But it's not a coup process. It's just a different process. In Bush v. Gore, if the Bush and Cheney campaign had not filed a petition with the Supreme Court, we never would have had Bush v. Gore, would you? Here you give the court a different path, a common law. You seek common law writs, which is rare, but safe for these extraordinary circumstances. That's the point. I have no idea if the court will take the case. If it does, you're not. If it doesn't, you're no worse off than you were before. But there's so many serious constitutional issues that affect our liberties, that affect our voting system, that affect the presidential election process, that affect what I'll call reverse journalism, when a court steals the authority from the federal FEC or U.S. Attorney's Office. These are matters that must be addressed, not by state courts. It belongs in a federal court, and the only federal court that can take it and make a final decision is the U.S. Supreme Court. So why would you stop at the 30-yard line and say this is going to destroy the country. I don't know how we unravel it. We'll never get back. It's a sorry day. I surrender. I never surrender. You know why? He's the enemy. I'll be right back.
Ooh, carne asada.
It's carne asada. So what's that? Carne asada. Carne. But with more flavor. Carne.
And I say it like this.
Juicy carne asada. Carne asada. Carne. I did.
And you swore. Here you go.
Ninja's obsession. Time to get to work.
We have so much fun. Getting the buzzer, that would be like winning gold.
American Ninja Warrior. Check the local listings.
The biggest benefit, honestly, has been with my skin. Skin is more hydrated, more radiant. It's really the best superfood that you can take.
All the essential nutrients from the skin, gut, energy, focus, mood, performance.
My hair has gotten so much thicker ever since taking it.
Avenger plotting new course.
It is amazing.
You gotta take it.
You want to try it? Right on the
Commander, we just got word that the Resistance hit an Advent supply line. We have an opportunity.
This
to
might be a
salvage some high-value
surprise. I don't
material.
like traditional makeup. The first time I got my makeup done when I was 15, it made me look awful. I like makeup that makes you look like yourself, but better. Miracle Ball is the center of my beauty philosophy. It's not just makeup, it's not just skincare, it's both. It gives you moisture, and it only takes a nanosecond to put it on. It just makes you glow and look healthy. It's the ultimate you, the better product. Learn more at jonesroadbeauty.com.
There are many ways to do things. At Old Dominion Freight Line, we do them this way. This way is people who started, people who care and inspire each other to do things the way they should be done. This way uses technology. It goes the extra mile. Delivering promises on time, every time. This way is why we're the #1 national LTL carrier for quality. For us, this way is the right way, which is why it's the only. You can't watch, please. Get the latest news, business news, and retail SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Radio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
I found out. Working with our friend John Newman, one of the foremost legal scholars of the country, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, UC Berkeley Law Professor, Hoover Institution, visiting fellow, all around great guy. John, you see this case in Manhattan. How bad is it for our nation? How bad is it for our electoral system? How bad is it for the rule of law, for federalism, the whole kit and caboodle?
Mark, thanks for having me back. I am saddened at what this case has now done to our political and constitutional system. It's hard to exaggerate the harm that it's going to do, not just to Donald Trump. He's important, but the more important question is, what does this do to our institutions, as you said, our legal system, our electoral system, our system of federalism, and the separation of powers for all future presidents, for all future citizens. First, we've never prosecuted a former president before. This is not because past presidents hadn't done anything bad. It's because we thought it was the best thing for our separation of powers to leave presidents alone. And the reason why is because the Constitution concentrates so much responsibility and authority on the president to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, to protect the country from foreign threats, that we don't want our presidents, when they're making the hardest decisions on behalf of the country, to be worrying about whether they're going to be prosecuted or not. We don't want our presidents to be insurance claims adjusters worrying about risks and balances of their own personal finances and their own personal legal situation. We want them to decide what's best for the country. Now, because this case was so frivolous, because it was based on such concocted legal theories, it opens the door wide now for any DA, and there are 2,500 of them in the country, any DA to sue and prosecute any president, any past president, perhaps any sitting president.
It's good he's got restorative minutes right away.
I think an even worse problem is for the rule of law. Because what we've all learned now, I think, is that prosecutors can destroy a person. They can destroy a person's reputation, his finances, just by investigating them, even before they get to court, just by publicly announcing that they're investigating someone. We have for 230 years relied on prosecutors, on our elected chief executives, governors, and presidents to show against statesmanship, to go show good judgment, not to abuse this power. But now what we've seen is that I think the Biden Justice Department and these blue city DAs are abusing this power not to try to stop crime, but to target individuals because they don't like them, because they're unpopular, and then to find the crimes to fit the man. That is a direct assault on the rule of law, and that harms all of us in the country, all the citizens, not just Trump, not just presidents, but you and me and everyone else.
And what about the electoral system? I mean, one of these DAs decided they can decide to try to decide the outcome of an election through the process. They can make a vigorous reference to federal law, seize jurisdiction on what is a complex layer of federal authorities and decision makers when it comes to federal election campaign law, let alone seize the authority of the federal courts and the Supreme Court to make these decisions, regardless of what the New York courts say up and down the chain. I mean, whatever the New York courts say up and down the chain, that is not the final decision. The federal Supreme Court decides to step in. That's the final decision for you, New York. So if I'm in California and I see that it worked in New York, because we have this lumbering appellate process, but I can interfere with an election. By the time the appellate process catches up with me, so be it. They're going to time it the same way. So this can really become a cancer for the political campaign system of the highest federal official in the United States. And the election there too, no?
Mark, I appreciate what you said in your opening statement, because the Supreme Court has been clear, not just in one offside comment, in three very clear decisions, that only the federal government can enforce federal law. Only the Justice Department and the Federal Election Commission can prosecute and bring suit for violations of federal election law. They're the guardians of how federal election should run. And so what happened here is that the DA, approved by this judge, Judge Merchant, grabbed the authority away and basically decided to prosecute his own interpretation of federal law. That's not permissible under our separation of powers and federalism. The Supreme Court will reverse if, as you say, Mark, they get a chance to hear this case.
We did that, John. That was my question. So should we sit on our hands, say there's nothing we could do, let it all work its way through the courts of New York? Despite all the impacts we said, despite the fact that those courts didn't even catch up with the electoral process, and that's intentional. That's why the case was time when it was time. Should we just sit back and say, well, it's a rare chance that this will be so important and so on? And that's that? That's my question to you. We'll be right back.
Start your day with Nature, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin supplement brand. If you have Graves' disease and permanent vision, you need clear answers. People with Graves could also get thyroid eye disease, or TED, which may need a different doctor. See a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
You're calling. Some people find their wish. Consider yourself lucky. I'm calling to build troops. That's why troops everything, never try. So that when you find your wife, nothing will stop you from answering.
Avenger plotting new course.
I'm not.
Together, we started
Plotting course for Sector 13, South Africa.
using my years of apparel experience. We set out to make the world's best fitting t-shirts.
Avenger plotting new course.
Our fresh new teas were made to offer a product fit for all body types. Not. Unleash your confidence at freshcleanreds.com.
Most guys get
Yo.
but most guys don't do anything about it because most guys don't really understand something. They think it's too expensive.
Setting course for Sector 11, West Africa.
But here's the thing. Most guys are poor because there are actually few ways to use your money bags. And one of the easiest Article 601 basically actually works really well. And most guys actually can afford it. Because it's 601's formula, it means you're getting 6 products. Just wash your face and then massage in before you know it, you're looking younger than, well, most guys. But forget about most guys. Just be you. Get over right now at artofmen.com. We've got free shipping in the United States plus 30-day money-back guarantee.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. I know, it's scary unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try. Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep.
Next time we'll get another one.
And wake up refreshed.
I wake up feeling alert and like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Take Relaxium Sleep. It'll work.
I promise you it will work. Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-801-1737.
This is a Fox News update. I'm Jackie Vanian in New York. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will address a joint session of Congress after accepting an invitation.
Let's save this.
This comes as he's facing growing pressure to reach a ceasefire deal with Hamas. On Friday, President Biden outlined a three-phase peace plan that he says is from Israel. Hamas reportedly views the deal positively, but Netanyahu insists the conditions for ending the war have not changed. He says there will be no permanent ceasefire until Hamas is destroyed. This all raising questions over Israel's degree of support for the plan Biden outlined. Meanwhile, the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is officially
It's not enough time.
Forecasters expect it to be one of the busiest yet.
Holy fuck.
La Nina and record warm temperatures. The water hurricane season runs through November. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Now back to life, liberty, and living.
Welcome back, America. We'll try not to be too legalistic here. So, John, it's been my proposition that there should be a filing with all the relevant substance and so forth and constitutional issues to what we call common law writ. Now, there's different types of common law writs. There's mandamus, there's prohibition, and there is
Setting course for the East African
You don't want to get too legalistic. You might have gotten the wrong guess on my part, but there is a clear Supreme Court case from the mid-90s that says that anyone who's being held unconstitutionally by a state government, which would be the case here, can go directly to the Supreme Court and file for a writ of habeas corpus, it's called. Now, usually federal courts don't like to get involved too early in state criminal proceedings. But this is the thing. What the state here is that what New York State has allowed this DA and this judge to do is such an extraordinary assault on the rule of law, on our constitutional system. But I think the Trump lawyers could go directly to the Supreme Court and say, this is a demand for this is exactly why you need extraordinary writ at times like these. And then the second thing you could say is, you already are hearing a case about presidential immunity. So all we're asking you to do is pause, stop the New York courts. Don't allow them to take any further legal measures against President Trump. And these until you issue your immunity decision. The court may say presidents have full immunity from criminal prosecution, and they might say in such a way that it would wipe out actually these New York City proceedings. It cause them maybe to never be able to bring the case in the first place, if that happens. So the least what you can do is go to the Supreme Court and say, pause everybody. Don't let any further proceedings against President Trump proceed until you decide a duration of the immunity decision. Or if you would say, you should really go and look at the merits of the case, see that this prosecutor is trying to enforce federal law, as you, the Supreme Court, has said several times in the last 20 years, is unconstitutional, and quash the indictment. Stop this kind of trial from happening. Look at all the damage it will do to the separation of powers and to federalism and to our electoral system and to the rule.
And the court took this extraordinary step when the Bush-Cheney campaign, you were involved in this litigation, there were many other excellent lawyers, went to the Supreme Court because the Florida Supreme Court had issued a ruling that was obviously intended to help Gore, and they weren't done. And they filed what they called an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court treated it as a writ of certiorari. I don't want to get too complicated here, which this would not be. But we do have other writ potentials where the judiciary itself, it doesn't have to be statutorily based, says, wait a minute, based on our own precedent. And I would argue Bush versus Gore is a perfect example, including a number of these federal jurisdiction points that you raised. Yes, we will take up the case. Maybe they won't. But if you don't petition the court and bring it to them, I know for sure 100% they can't. So if this is a big enough problem that we argue the Republicans on the line, presidential elections are on the line, the rule of law is on the line, the Bill of Rights are on the line, that we need to address this. We've never seen such a horrendous thing in our lives. Why would you not?
I agree, and the reason to, one way to look at it is this. Usually the Supreme Court doesn't exercise this great power because it respects the states, it respects state courts, as it should. But here what you've done is you've seen a perversion of the rule of law. You've seen the cooperation of a state judge in these outrageous charges. And by the time the state courts could correct it, the damage has already been done. It will be well after the election before the state court of appeals and the court of errors, as they call it, will have a chance to hear this case and make a decision before it even can get to the U.S. Supreme Court. So they should act faster to be conscious of the harm that this is doing and their ability to choose the president by November.
John, let me just say this. The harm's already done. Because even if the highest court in New York throws the case out on every ground that we think it should, that's New York. There's not a national standard. That's New York law. That's not national, federal law. So I'm in California, I'm a DA, say in San Francisco or Berkeley, and I say, you know what? I can do that next election too. And I'll let the courts catch up with me in the state. You can't have that going on in 20, 30, 40 states and so forth and so on. You need to have a national election process for a national election where the national authorities are responsible and in charge of it. John, I want to thank you very much. You've been doing a fantastic job. You always do. And God bless you, my friend. Keep your head down in Berkeley.
Thanks, Mark. It's not easy, but I'll try.
God bless you. We'll be right back.
Did you understand those organ release programs for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
News for $40 a month. Sling lets you do that. It's so easy to get your windshield replaced with mistake. Like, why don't you just get it fixed? Right. So what do we do now? Schedule 1 minute. Sleeplight.com on the newsroom.
Schedule free mobile service at sleeplight.com. When dry acid dips the heat, bad inflammation might be to blame. Over-the-counter eye drops can provide temporary relief. Sun-Dry can provide lasting relief. It targets inflammation that can cause dry eye disease. Sun-Dry treats the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. Don't use if allergic to Sun-Dry. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort or blurred vision when applying, and unusual taste sensation. Why wait? Ask your doctor about a 9-day prescription and pay as little as $0. Sun-Dry.
Happy now. It's just come easier.
The
Our
Advent
faculty,
system
John
is more
Pierce,
similar, if not physically the same as the common Advent trooper in terms of power and agility.
fishing and
However,
pontoon boats
news
powered by
reports indicate a more developed mental acuity,
That's
as
him.
pilots do provide tactical direction to the subordinate Advent forces.
Lifelong memories of Europe. Bass Pro Shops, voted America's best outdoor retailer. See even more and support conservation. Join the club. Were you stationed, working, or living in Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987? If you or a loved one have suffered from a severe illness, you may be eligible for a settlement offer ranging from $100,000 to $550,000 without court filing. Morgan Morgan has already helped over 50,000 veterans and their families in the fight towards justice. For
Let's
more
save
information,
this.
call the number on your screen or visit www.camplejeuneInjury.com. I'm excited to announce we're having a huge
I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace. Fucking watching.
You get another My Pillow 2.0